Okay. Friday, everybody. That's a sad dad joke. I'm sorry to pull that one out early.
With an upside down book.
Today with the man that wrote this book, Luke Mathers. Luke, thanks for being on board again, mate. We really appreciate it.
It's been fun.
I just want to shout out to a few other people who have been doing some of these lives, religiously for everybody, which I really appreciate. Chef Jordan, get on and check out. She's doing some really cool recipes. Her hot cross buns one is one to die for. Like I give them. Shael, one of our favourite vegans, has been doing a whole lot of fitness and type things. Sinead, who's from WA, she's a rep of ours. She's pregnant. She just did a big talk on pregnancy and supplements and what you can and can't use. So we get asked that a lot. Andy Jens from 98 Gym doing his whiteboard sessions. They're awesome. Like they are really getting great feedback. Harriet Walker, our favourite dietitian, is doing what she does best every day. New one this week, Luke from KC Sports Cairo, about posture and that was epic. Like he's a smart dude. Get on board and listen to that one. Courtney's been doing some great hit sessions. I don't know how many guys are doing them, but the girls are commenting like you're beating them up and they love it. Clint Hill's done some really cool training protocols, cool stuff to talk about. Adam Elliott from the Doggies, what he's been up to. Life footballers, not playing football. It's an interesting one. Dr. Craig Duncan's been on doing his self-science stuff, which is just fantastic. Alex Glover's been on doing, Alex is one of our dedicated, he lives hardcore vegan, and he's all about lifestyle and all of a sudden he's been doing some stuff on breathing and so some really cool stuff. So I just want to shout out and say a massive thanks to all the team that do everything. And Luke, really thankful. Friday afternoon. I know the surf's good and that's where you'd rather be right now. And I know you love a beer and that's the second place you'd rather be before you're doing this. So, mate, we're going to rip in today. I'm going to throw a few things at you from your book today, if that's cool.
Cool. Bring it on.
I've been doing a training course. Like we just did with Swish Academy, a really cool training course of body science, and I've enrolled in another one through Kellogg's Executive Education. And one of the things I did on presenting today was I thought was really cool, and I related it back to stress straight away. Like, so, mate, when I hold this bad boy up, what do you see?
Not beer on a Friday afternoon, which is tragic, but I see a half full glass of water.
So is it half full or half empty? Like, I don't even want to know the answer to that. What I want to do here is ask you, what do you think it weighs?
Okay. It looks like it's maybe 250, 300 grams.
This bad boy is coming in about 500.
Wow.
Okay. So totally irrelevant because light as. If I just leave it there and hold it, considered light. You lift heavy. Hey, like I've watched you, getting the 20 kilo dumbbells out. So, mate, say I hold this for an hour. How would that feel?
I'd get a little bit sore, I guess. Yeah, it depends how you held it, I guess.
So you're saying this was light, and now I'm saying I'm now going to hold this for 8 hours. How's that going to feel?
Ooh, that's not going to be pleasant.
It's going to be heavy, mate.
No, it's going to get
up and you're
really,
going to
really weary.
Break. And what I want to do, like I'm going through it all again. And I really wanted to bring that back to, we're stuck at home with COVID-19 and stress, but little things. And I just want you to talk about how the brain works in the theories in your book and some little things that we can do. We might touch on some of the hormones you've been talking about, and we're not experts in that area. We're talking about things you can do to counteract this naturally, habits and styles and things that you put in your book, which are fantastic. So I just want to take that theory of, gee, that's a light glass of water, but if I hold that shit all day long out like that, that becomes one of the heaviest things in my life. And I believe from reading your book that stress is exactly the same.
It is, and I'll share a little thing on my screen here. And we've had a bit of a look at this thing over the course of these lives. Yep. And this is the stress curve. And across the bottom, across the x-axis, we get our stress levels.
Yep.
And you'll notice if you're down in the royal blue down there, it's a bit of apathy, a bit I don't really care what's going on. I'm a bit inactive and bored. And
picking up a light glass.
Picking up a light glass, yeah. Whenever you are in that stage, it's actually a really nice stage to be in sometimes. And I know a lot of people that have got locked down have all of a sudden, my life's not as hectic anymore and it's really good. The hassle is you can't stay there. Just as you can't stay up the other end in the red, because when you're up in the red, you're marinating cortisol, you're totally under stress the whole time, and that glass is getting really, really heavy.
That glass is heavy and cramp worthy.
Exactly. So up in the red would be like trying to hold that glass out like this for hours and hours on end. It's going to get really sore and it's going to get really heavy. And what what people think that they need to do is get into that green section. I want to get into that sort of middle bit where I've got my peak performance and my stress levels just right and it's all okay. And I've looked at this graph a lot and I put it in the book, and it's something I've pondered a lot of where to put those lines and all of that sort of stuff. And one of the things I think it more is our stress levels almost need to be like a seesaw on top of it. We need to be able to go down to that board inactive. We need to fire up into that. I'm really full on pumped and I'm really, everything's going full on up near the red. But we need to be able to seesaw in and out of those few things. And that's kind of like your glass and having it and holding it out like this, and then sometimes putting it down and then picking it up again. And I think that's what we've got to look at. Is we've got to look at ways of when you're having to fire up and when you're having to go, fully embrace it, fully love the stress of those times when it's full on. But then other times when it's really relaxed and stuff, enjoy that too. And make sure you wander between all the colors up there on that stress curve.
Nice. So, mate, I'm at home and my little half glass of water, or half full or half empty, whichever type of human you are, hits me, and then I just can't let that shit go. What's happening?
Yeah, you're starting to ruminate a bit when that happens. And we talked about ruminating in one of these as well. And ruminating is where the same thought you've got the same song on your internal radio just playing all day long, just repeating the same problem without finding a solution, without finding any way to get out of it. And that's when it starts wearing tracks in your brain. The more you think about certain things, the more different neurons in your brain wire together. Neurons that fire together wire together. So the more you think about something, whether it be something negative, whatever it is you're going to reinforce, and it's going to be like walking over the same, the same path in a sand dune. You're going to really wear that path in.
Yep.
And ruminating is a really weird word. It comes from the guts of cows. And the cows have 3 or 4 stomachs in there, and what they do, the stomachs are called rumen, and they roll the grass around in there and they move it from one to another, and it's basically recycling the same stuff. And I think we kind of do that in our heads when we're ruminating.
And it's just this theory that you talk about in your book on old brain versus new brain, like the fork in the stress road.
Yeah, the fork in the stress road is. It'd be really good if we've got a little picture there. It'd be really good if there was actually some signs when you're at the fork in the stress road. Because what normally happens is you go a certain way and you have, whatever happens, whatever stressful situation happens, your old brain gets the first crack at it. All right. And the old brain gets the first crack at what to do, because your old brain is the part in the middle of your brain. And it's the same part that... Fast and automatic. It's the one it's where all your emotions are. It's where all your fight and flight comes from. Yeah. Dogs have it, reptiles have it, monkeys have it. All of them have that. The difference is humans that's like an old brain in there. Your new brain's the newer bit that goes on the
there
top.
It is, the old brain, new brain.
We love the old brain and new brain with
body science.
With the old brain at the bottom, new brain on the top. And if the new brain is ruminating and it's causing the stress by repeating the same thoughts, it's kind of like pushing down on the old brain, and it creates a lot of tension. If you do that now, it creates a whole bunch of tension. If your new brain is going to working out, well, how can I put that glass down? How can I actually solve this problem? It does the opposite. It picks the old brain up.
That's awesome,
that releases the tension. And that's one of the things that we've got to look at. And that's basically getting your glass, even though it's only 500 grams, I've been carrying this bloody thing around all day. I'm going to put it down now.
Yeah.
All right. And your new brain will work out how to do that.
Yeah.
And the fork in the stress road, there's two directions that you can go on the fork in the stress road. The top one is where your new brain gets involved and helps the situation. And that is generally a challenge response. So what happens is something happens, you have an automatic response, but then you say, no, I'm going to see this as a challenge, and this is my goal, and this is how I'm going to get to this challenge. And there's nothing bad about that sort of stress. Life without that stress is actually really dull, colorless, and boring.
Yep.
The problem is that going the other way, which is the way we normally go. Because remember, we're negatively biased. We have a negative bias, which means we're biologically designed to look for the negative side of things. And from an evolution point of view, that makes perfectly good sense. All right. If you're a caveman and you walk outside and you spend the whole day looking at rainbows, you're going to get eaten by lions. All right. You've got to come out and you've got to look around and make sure there's nothing going to kill you first. So we've got to take notice of the negative. And your old brain is really good at finding the negative. It's what it does. The old brain's there to keep you alive. I tell a story in the book about going for a walk in the Tasmanian forest. And we were less than 100 meters from the car and I almost stepped on a bloody big brown snake. And I had jumped up, I'd heard myself squeal and I was 4 foot backwards before I'd actually realized I'd seen the shape.
Pushing your wife forward?
Yeah, pushing my wife in front of me. I am a conquering hero. But things like that, that's your old brain and its beautiful best. But your old brain doesn't get to rule where you're going to go, because if it does, it takes whatever its shitty first draft is, and often it's negative, often it's finding the bad in stuff, and it just runs with it. And once you get too far away from that fork in the road, what you end up doing is you're getting so far away from it, you can't remember where the fork in the road was. And all you end up doing is justifying how you got there.
Okay. That's interesting, mate.
So what we've got to do is sort of stop and think, oh, okay, I'm feeling knots in my stomach here. I'm feeling like I'm, my palms are sweaty. I sound like I'm about to start an Eminem song.
Yeah, I was so hoping you wouldn't go there, but you're going to do it, aren't you?
No. But all of those biological responses that happen when you get stress, when they happen, you've got to take notice of them. And that's where that self-awareness part of Stress Teflon comes into it. You've got to take notice of them, and then you've got to decide where you want to go.
Okay, cool.
And that's a big part of the fork in the stress road, is to use your new brain to actually find the solution. And that takes a lot of that stress away. It takes a lot of that toxic stress away. Because remember, you don't get toxic stress from doing challenges. You don't get toxic stresses from pushing yourself. You know what I mean? Those things are great. They actually don't harm your vascular system. They don't give you heart attacks. They don't give you any of those sort of problems. They fire you up and actually give you protective things against things like depression and anxiety and stuff like that, because you're achieving things.
Now, one thing that I've put into my life since you wrote the book and you've done some self-help sessions at Body Science with our whole team, is I actually go like this. If I can feel myself having that, you said when you're getting down the fork in the road, I go like this and go, think like that. Like, let's try and.
What's the answer?
And for me, just doing that is a big step forward in that, not letting those things become chronic with me, because any executive in COVID-19 right now will understand the stress. I walked down Burleigh, the offices at Burleigh Heads. I went down the main street of Burleigh and just all the signs on stores saying closed. There's just people having the worst time ever right now. And it doesn't need to be life-threatening. We've got to look to how to adopt. It is the new world. It is what it is. Our business is down. I'm not hiding that from anyone. Gyms are shut. All this type of things are happening, and probably not going to open for 3 months. There's a lot of people out there in our world, in our fitness world, and our tribe around us and our locals that are just going, holy hell, when's this thing going away and what is it? And this is why it's really good that, talking to you has been good for me personally each day, which I say every day at the end of this. And that's one of the things I do. Like when I feel it coming, like something's not right, I just go like this and go, I don't want that. You know what I mean? And
what it's doing is just giving you that awareness. It's giving you that awareness to say, okay, there's something going on here. And remember, we've talked about this a heap of times as well. Anxiety is your brain's way of making you pay attention.
Yep.
All right. It's there for a reason. The caveman that didn't get anxious, the Homo erectus that never got anxious got eaten. All right. He was chilled. He's just cruising, looking at rainbows. He got eaten by tigers. All right. That shit's there for a reason. It's there to help us. It's there. you know, in this situation, it's there to make us pay attention. Well, what's my way through this? And one of the things about that, remember your old brain's doing all the emotional responses. It's doing all the fight or flight. It's doing all of that fear. Your amygdala is part of your old brain, which is your fear center part of your brain. And also it's right next door to your hippocampus. And your hippocampus is part of your old brain that's responsible for learning and memory.
Yep.
And that's a really weird, really integral part of the thing, is that our fear center and our memory center are right next to each other. So have a think about that for a sec. Those two are really, really interlinked. All right. So that when we are in a state of fear, we go back to memories, and we've got to create memories of where we got through problems in the past, where we've had a problem and this felt terrible at that time and I got through it. And it's one of the issues with the younger generation at the moment. We're going to sound like an old fart for a minute, but they don't have a backlog of catalog of things that they've gone through and that they can look back on and say, okay, I went through that. Yeah, you and I have talked. Everyone knows I'm a massive Essendon supporter, and I think my beloved Bombers are one of my favourite teams in the world. My same team nearly sent Greg's business broke. All right, so we both have a very, very different opinion of Essendon. But going through this and your business it's struggling because gyms are closed and all of that sort of stuff. But you have a back catalogue. You have things in your head that I've got through worse than this, and these were the things I put in place, and this is how I got through it.
Absolutely.
If you don't have that, you've got to find a mentor. You've got to find someone in your tribe that's been through something like that you can go to. Because I have my co-author, Mick Zelko. He's got a PhD in cognitive neuroscience, a really smart dude. And I have a thing called an old brain shitstorm. And an old brain shitstorm is when your old brain's just taken over. It's catastrophizing everything. All it can see is the bad points coming up. It can't see any way out of it. And your old brain's taken over. Your new brain's gone, whoopee. It's off in the pixies somewhere. All right. And when you're in an old brain shitstorm, you don't think right. All right. It's like when you're having a big argument with someone and you wanted to have a really cool comeback and you couldn't have one because you couldn't think of one, and you think of it in the car on the way home 20 minutes later. I hate that. I hate that so much. That's because the smart part of your brain that would have come up with those snappy retorts is offline. It's not thinking straight because you're in an old brain shitstorm. So both Mick and I have got a deal with each other, is that when we're in an old brain shitstorm, we're going to outsource our old brain to the other one.
Yeah, nice.
All right.
Nice.
I'm in an old brain shitstorm. I know I'm not thinking right. Knots in my stomach, ruminating over shit that I shouldn't be ruminating in.
Yeah.
First thing I do is ring Mick, and the first words I say is, "G'day, Mick. I'm in an old brain shitstorm. Can you help me with this?"
Yeah.
And that's his cue to say, I'm going to listen and I'm going to trust him completely, and he's going to tell me what to do. And everything just calms the farm when you do that.
Yeah, that's so important, mate. I cannot tell people how important that is. Mate, it's Friday, Arvo. It's time to go surfing or have a beer, I think. I know we're in lockdown, but we live on the beach and we can walk there, people. We're not getting in cars, just for those that don't know. So life isn't as bad as it could be.
That's going all right.
If you're a golfer in Victoria, you'd be hating Fridays. You'd be hating. Mate, I also had the team at work today challenge me on how could I get 2 products into this one little presentation without making it too over the top. So I wore a clean bar shirt,
mate.
Well, I hold up our low carb bar. All these are available at Coles and Woolies, guys. Get on board. Keep the Australian people we deal with moving. If you need a protein bar, pick ours. It is Australian made. A lot of them aren't. Even ones that have the word Australian written in them, or Aussie, etc. Right. Yes, but yeah.
Support local businesses.
Hey.
Support local businesses.
Support Australian businesses and Australian families, Australian people. It's these things that we create that are allowing the government to do what they do. I'm not a political person. I'm not going there any further because that's me definitely outside my lane of what I give a shit about and what I'm good at talking about. But, mate, this book, I'm telling everyone I know to go and download it on Spotify. It's really good for making me go to sleep in 3 to 4 minutes with your voice. I love it.
Awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, so lukemothers.com.au if anyone wants to contact you. Yes?
We'll see you Monday.
See you Monday, mate, and have a fun weekend, everybody.
You bet. See you, mate.